Hello and welcome to another edition of your favorite program, Victor Alonge on real estate, your favorite real estate show that is focused on promoting the real estate agenda in our national economic development. Last week, we spoke about real estate's state contribution and some of the challenges. And this week, we will continue that discussion. And specifically today, we will be looking at how to improve real estate contribution to our national economic development. And this will be reflected in the improved GDP figure, performance. And what are the areas that we actually need to attack so that we can achieve this? Because real estate is key. This and many more I will be talking about after this short break. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to Victor Alonge on real estate. As I said earlier, my name is Victor Alonge. I'm your anchor. And today we'll be looking, like I said earlier, at how to actually make sure that real estate continue to have improvement in terms of contribution to our national economic development. And in this edition, we will be focusing mainly on two critical components of real estate contribution, key drivers of real estate contribution to the national economy, and that is the affordable housing and accommodation. And we'll all remember that in 2014, the World Bank carried out a survey and came up with a figure of, I think then it was 59.5 trillion naira that will be needed to plug the 17 million housing deficit that we have. And at that rate, it was actually 3.5 million per unit. This is actually a pointer to how real estate can actually contribute to economic development. So today I'll be looking at how to achieve this, access to finance, which is actually critical. We'll be looking at removal of obstacles to land acquisition and documentation, which we mentioned in the last edition of this program, and also the impact of lack of infrastructure. If we are able to promote investment in infrastructure, what impact would that have on real estate performance and then on the economy? But the first thing I want us to look at is access to finance. We all know that there is lack of long-term debt financing in our economy, and what that means is that it brings about underdeveloped mortgage market. And when you have lack of debt financing and you have underdeveloped mortgage market, you reduce the population of those actually engaged in real estate, and you deter people from actually coming into the investment circle. Currently, we know that mortgage loans is less than 1% of our GDP, which is absolutely ridiculous. And the capital market is the only savior to actually come in and help out in this case, because when you have long-term funding from capital market, then you're looking at some comfort, some opportunity for people to access loan and pay over a long period of time, and then the cost of borrowing will come down. The other obstacle that we have, which we have to really look at is land acquisition and documentation, problem. The cumbersome and time-consuming process of land acquisition and documentation. They are disincentive to investment in real estate, and accordingly, negative influence on, real estate productivity. Lack of infrastructure. The implication of this is because of the poor state of our infrastructure generally, developers of residential houses and so on are having to actually bear the cost of developing or providing infrastructure. And we know what that means, because the cost will ultimately be passed over to the end consumer. And that means high cost of developed, properties, and which again makes it unaffordable. So affordable housing, as I said earlier on, is actually a major driver, just as accommodation. We have not even spoken about the commercial accommodation provision, because that is also key, in contributing to our national economic development, and that we will be looking at in subsequent edition. But the truth of the matter is lack of infrastructure, obstacle to land acquisition, and lack of access to long-term financing, they are going to continue to militate against real estate potential contribution to our national economic development until, we come up with a proper, national housing policy to address this. We have bits of individual, policies that we need to harmonize, so that everybody, all these policies will be working together in tandem, and then there will be cohesion and then proper coordination. There have been instances in the past when suggestions have been made for government to create, a national housing commission, but we're still looking at what can actually be done to harmonize all the various efforts of stakeholders, and policy makers within the real estate sector. But the truth of the matter is that real estate presents huge potential for actually making a huge difference to our economic development. The issues that we have so far addressed in this edition are not domiciled solely on policymakers. Everybody involved, all stakeholders, professionals, investors, citizens, we are all involved, and we need concerted efforts of everybody to actually get things in proper perspective within the industry. I think we've had a good discussion, and I will be back after this short break. Welcome back. This is still Victor Alonge on real estate, and I remain your anchor, Victor Alonge. I want to thank you for being part of this program this week, but I'm sure we've had a good time looking at the focus of this show today, which is promoting real estate contribution to national economic development. And I look forward to continuing this next week, especially when we will be looking at the accommodation component as a key driver in real estate contribution to national economic development. Until then, when I come your way next week, continue to keep safe. Goodbye.